Well, we welcome you back to the GT Cup Europe Championship. We're now firmly heading into the second half of the season's campaign. 3 out of the 6 rounds already completed, and we're here at the circuit of Paul Ricard. This circuit has been in existence for many, many years, home to the French Grand Prix of old, and we're running across the Grand Prix circuit layout that has been in existence since 2005 to the present day. 4.381 kilometres, 3.630 miles, 15 turns in total. We have been racing here since 2019, since this championship's inception, and we have had many a great race ever since then as well. This, incidentally, actually becoming our 8th visit in the history of this championship. In terms of how the grid looks, Paul Meyer back on top, need we say any more? The man who aces qualifying at every turn, well, he's back with Hans Wies once again in their quest for championship glory. He has got, though, the reigning champion alongside him in Ian Rodriguez, who last year took Fime's team to success 12 months ago. Diego Stifter in third, starting on the second row alongside Boyar Garcia. It's going to be a very mean affair, and we've got some news to bring you as well, folks, concerning next season, 2027. We have a full calendar announced for the GT Sport organisation. That includes the International GT Open, GT Cup Europe and Euro Formula Open, and you have got a treat awaiting you for next year. We kickstart next year in Portimao before heading to Spa, and then Silverstone awaits with Hockenheim, Hungaroring, Paul Ricard, Autodromo, Nacional de Monza and Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia. Of course, GT Cup Europe does not feature at all of those rounds. It will be selected rounds. There's no Cup at Portimao and no Cup at Silverstone, but there you have it. That is the GT Sport organisation calendar for next year, with 2 GT Open 500 races, if you watch as well, crossover to the International GT Open at Spa and Monza. So we're ready for a great race now, though. And George Morgan here in the commentary box for this one. It's a very warm day, and I'm joined alongside me, Chris Stevens.
Sheltering in the air-conditioned commentary box and media centre.
It's lovely in here, isn't it?
Up here. Yeah, it's not bad in here, although I feel like even here's getting a bit toasty now. We saw the graphic at the top of the show, 56 degrees track temperature, and that'll be in the shade as well. So it is going to be a very difficult 50-minute race for every single driver out there, and spare a thought for those doing it solo, like Evgeny Leonov, like Jose Barros. At least other people have got a teammate to hand over to in the second part of the race, and spare a thought for everybody who's working out there on the circuit for today in very searing conditions. There you can see the air temperature, 36.6. But I can tell you that, yeah, if you're not in the shade, it feels like an awful lot more, and there's no wind in the air either. Very unusual here, because we're right next to the airfield. It's just to the left of the start-finish straight. Normally you would get quite a stiff breeze at that part of the circuit, but the air incredibly still as well. So it's just languishing, the heat in the air, and inside these cars as well, it's going to get even hotter. But hopefully that means the action out on track as well should be pretty hot as well, because we've got a feisty championship hunt as we head into the second half of the season, with 3 different teams going for the title. Yeah,
it's extraordinary time. I want to talk numbers, Chris, because looking at the points affair at the moment, obviously Yuri Anderbach, Paul Meyer. Paul Meyer is a sensational qualifier, without question. The gap, though, you'd be surprised to know, 4 points between the top 2 in the championship, which means we're in for it, for an almighty championship tussle. And whilst, of course, Paul Meyer is brilliant, in Matteo Lovisi and Pietro Delle Guanti, you've got a combination that is so consistent across a whole championship campaign. Lovisi, we mentioned it this morning, has gone on to take back-to-back pole positions, essentially, as far as he's concerned. 3 in a row, in fact, as far as his races and his qualifyings are concerned. Elsewhere, it seems that Simone Quinter and Ludovico Longoni, who are 8 points off the lead, have just come into form as of late. So
fantastic weekend for them in Misano, with double victory there. Took advantage of some misfortune for their rivals, of course, as well.
But you've got to.
But in the first race, absolutely, they were pretty much unchallenged, weren't they? So, and Longoni lining up 5th for this one, and Pietro Delle Guanti, after taking a 5-place grid penalty, goes from 7th, and that was after the contact that he was deemed to have caused towards the end of race 2 in Misano.
What it has left us with is 3 different teams, or 3 different entries, have now taken victories this season, and they're all aligned on 2 apiece. So it couldn't get more equal if you tried, really.
Yeah.
In which case, then I would disregard the points affair of things and just say, well, listen, it doesn't matter what the gap is. It's small anyway. It's an all-out battle, leading towards the end of the season. We don't know who's going to win yet.
The thing to consider, though, is that both the Fimes car and the ZRS car have had 2 non-scores.
Yes.
So they need to be perfect for the rest of the season. Paul Meyer and Jurien de Back have at least scored points in every race so far this season. They had some disappointing results in Misano, but points on the board nonetheless.
Like, if they score for the rest of the season, they would probably likely just drop the 2 Misano races at the moment.
Potentially. Well, if you were to apply the drop score now, it would actually be the Levisi and Deliguanti car in the lead of the championship. So the picture's slightly skewed in that sense, as we have 3 more meetings to go, including this one. So there's an awful lot to look forward to. That's not even, thinking about the other championships as well. Only 3 points separating the top 2 cars in the Pro-Am Championship as well. The Am Championship is incredibly close as well. 6 points between the top 3 there. We've had, 4 different winners in that category so far this year? No, 5, in fact. So there's stuff to enjoy all the way through the field.
Yeah, there is. The Pro-Am situation is thrilling. It's 3 points between the top 2 in that one. Obviously, Lars Zane, we saw him not too long ago, taking on the likes of Boyar Garcia and Alejandro Barambio, who lead the championship at the moment. As we now move across to take a look at Giacomo Giabergia, he is, of course, part of AM class. In terms of the AM class situation, Hans Weiss, of course, Hans Weiss Motorsport, with Rick van Lieverden. We just caught him not too long ago. They lead the championship there, and there's only 5 points between them and Dieter Schweppes, Leandro Martins, of course, who have won the AM title in the past already, so they know a little bit about it. But as we take a look at this grid, just look at the colour we have here at a very warm and picture blue sky at Paul RICARD. Well, let's take you back to Misano, because that was a volatile affair, wasn't it, folks? It was a great start, nonetheless. Feinstein had to lock into second place right at the getaway on this one. GT Corsa were very prominent as well at the same time. There were plenty of moves being made. The 69 Zanassi racing car was trying to make its way through the field, but eventually the 22 of ZRS's, Simone Quinta and Ludovico Longoni, would move to the top. Elsewhere, plenty of moves here as they crossed the line, and it was the 69 that made its way across, taking eventual victory in that last race. Of course, then we got underway for race 2, and it was a very good start for Fimes' team. Once again, the combination of Levisi and Deliguanti were once again in the thick of the action. Elsewhere, the 22 of ZRS Motorsport, Simone Quinta and Ludovico Longoni, determined to bring the results back their way again. We're in the midst of fighting, trying to grow the gap. Obviously, we saw Levisi and Deliguanti in the midst of yet another battle as they look to try and rein in the positions. Unfortunately, it led to an incident, and they barreled out of the race, eventually locking into the barriers. Deliguanti found himself in the gravel trap, and eventually the second win would go to Ludovico Longoni and Simone Quinta, their 2 first wins of the season back to back. This is how the championship looks. We were discussing the points just now. Jurien de Back and Paul Meyer leading the way on 58. 4 points is the gap between Pietro Deliguanti and Matteo Levisi in second, and then Ludovico Longoni, Simone Quinta. The championship covered in the top 3 by 8 points. So now it's race time. All the cars lined up on the grid. 15-second board is now shown. We'll take you through how they line up for the start of the first race of the weekend. It is Paul Meyer on pole position yet again, alongside reigning champion Ian Rodriguez. That'll be a tasty start to this Paul Ricard feast. We have Diego Sifter starting on the second row in third, alongside Boyar Garcia for GT Corse. Then we move down to the third row, where we'll meet Ludovico Longoni, fresh off the back of back-to-back wins with ZRS, lining up alongside Giacomo Pedrini for Fimes' team. Pietro Deliguanti in the car that went on to win the championship last season. Obviously, Pietro Deliguanti chasing a better result. Starting 7th, not ideal, alongside Lars Zanen in 8th. Leandro Martins, former AM champions, in 9th place, alongside Bernardo Lucas Pinheiro in 10th. Rick van Lieverden, who is chasing the championship crown in AM, alongside Giacomo Giabergia in P12. Evgeny Leonov showing a lot of grand pace lately. He starts 13th. Jose Barros alongside him in 14th for AF Motorsport. Davide Scanicia returns in 15th place alongside Fernando Pedrera in 16th for Tsunami. We then head down to the final row. Nelson Marconde is starting for Mitero by GDL Racing in 17th alongside Stefan Perrin in 18th place. So the formation lap underway, Chris. Paul Meyer in Rodriguez could be champion-elect against champion of last season. Fascinating.
Reigning Pro-Am champion, of course, was Paul Meyer against the reigning overall champion. So that is going to be very interesting. Ian Rodriguez, the guest, entered number 75 car from Ebby Motors. Ebby Motors fielding a third car here as they run the two Fines team cars. And now as a guest car, is Andrea Gali, their bronze driver, the customer in that car. But Ian Rodriguez could help out the sister cars here by unsettling Paul Meyer at the start of this race because the Hans Weiss team have got a great opportunity in this race in order to take a big step forward in the championship. They have no handicap for this one. They're starting on pole position. Their main rival has got a grid penalty as well, so starting in 7th position rather than on the front row of the grid where Deli Guanti qualified this morning. So it's an interesting complex that we have here. Look out for the bi-race car as well. They went very well in Misano, and that team, that new team, getting more and more confidence, and Diego Stifter especially as well, the youngster inside that car, the 21-year-old, looking a little bit more confident and finding a bit more speed out there.
Yep, obviously the tyres requiring a decent levy of warming up process. We were just riding on board with Diego Stifter, who will be contesting in the silver class. Of course, he needs the overall result. Does start inside the top 3. I'll be hoping he remains there right through to the end of the race. Of course, the podium is what they all yearn for, race wins especially. And Paul Meyer knows how to do that. And Yuri Anderbach will be waiting to take over when the time comes in a bid to landing yet another race win for themselves. They've got 2 coming into this round. Both wins were towards the start of the season. Their first one coming at Portimao in race 2. They then went back-to-back after their victory at Spa in race 1. But they haven't won since the first race at Spa, so therefore 3 without a win. But they did achieve second place in race 2 at the Ardennes. Elsewhere, though, Ian Rodriguez, with memories, no doubt, of last year. There's Matteo Lavisi, his father here as well, supporting him, as he always does. And he'll be hoping for a good getaway. Yuri Anderbach also chasing a serious result here alongside Paul Meyer. But they're going to take Pont Corner before heading down towards the lights. It'll be a slow, steady, trickling start before the lights go green. And they will be going flat out down towards turn 1. There are the glowing red lights now. As the rolling start gets us underway, it's Paul Meyer and Ian Rodriguez, line astern. The medical car in behind, watching them all unfold as now as the lights go green, it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Paul Meyer, equally good for Ian Rodriguez. Diego Stifter to the inside now, just in behind these two at the front now as they come through towards turn 1. Meyer at the inside, still able to hold his line and control and protect the lead of the race. Further back, Diego Stifter, Boyar Garcia in the familiar whites and red colours as they come down through towards the next segment now, coming in towards the chicane where they'll soon meet Hotel and then in towards Camp and then the run down through towards the Mistral. But a great start here, Chris, for Paul Meyer.
He was not leaving Ian Rodriguez an inch going into turn 1, was he? So really standing his ground at the start of the race. And it's the pole sitter who leads them onto the Mistral for the first time. Rodriguez had to go over the chicane, but did emerge still in second place. So I think race control will be satisfied that he didn't gain under the cutting of that chicane. But look at Diego Stifter. He's looking very racy down the Mistral for the first time, and a big dive to the inside here. Is he going to get it stopped? Just about, but he runs it wide. But then he's going to park it on the apex of turn number 7 and 8 as well, and manages to get second place there. Yeah,
and that scuppers Ian Rodriguez's exit as well, though he will get some slipstream here, Rodriguez. But is this going to open up Boyar Garcia's efforts here this time around? As Diego Stifter will be right on board with him as they fly through towards the next right-hander at sea. That you see Ian Rodriguez in the 75 Pro-Am class, remember, not featuring in the silver. Indeed, overall results, they're going to be chasing a Pro-Am win as we now right on board here. Now, with the 14 of this stage, Boyar Garcia holding his own and just waiting for any opportunity to present itself. The gap is starting to formulate. Ludovico Longoni down in 5th. He's currently under threat from Deli Guanti, who's on the move.
Deleguanti's got past his teammate, Giacomo Pedrini, at the start of this race. So 1 place gained there for the car that is second in the championship, and going after the car that is third in the championship now. So they make their way into Virage Dupont. Big defensive move there from Ludovico Longoni going into the final corner. Shouldn't compromise his exit too terribly much. So at the end of the first lap, it's Paul Meyer leads by 2.7 seconds over Diego Stifter, who was battling with Ian Rodriguez there. And Rodriguez now battling with Garcia for the lead in Pro-Am. Third position overall. Meanwhile, Evgeny Leonov looked like he was trying to make a move there on Giacomo Chabergia for third in the AM category. Leandro Martins, your pole sitter in that category, still leading there, but he's very closely followed by Rick von Zijverden.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking two of the teams that are actually leading the way in terms of the AM class in the championship.
Very much so.
That is a fascinating duel that we're seeing there between those two. We've got the number one of Deleguanti, the championship winning car from last year. Obviously new occupants, though, here for this season. But Deleguanti determined. Obviously, remember, started a little ways off, but he's starting to make some steady progress. Has got Ludovico Longoni for company, who's coming off the back of winning 2 races back-to-back. But Paul Meyer absolutely checking out. That 2.6 that you saw earlier, Chris, it's now become 3.2.
Yeah, absolutely romping clear, isn't he? As that's the move there from Deleguanti on the inside of Ludovico Longoni for 5th position going into the Mistral chicane.
Brilliant move there from Deleguanti, necessary as well. Needs to try and put the work in to then hand over the car to Matteo Levisi. When the time comes, firmly expect this team to rise through the ranks, given their very nature. Probably would be a little disappointed with their qualifying. It's important to note, though, they will be serving 10 seconds as part of their handicap. Paul Meyer, just look at these deltas now, 34.6 in the first sector. Diego Stifter, 6/10 off in that sector alone, near enough. 38.8, 2/10 near enough slower, 1.5 or 1.5 tenths the difference between Paul Meyer and Stifter in sector 2. He is romping away.
Could run rings around this lot if he was so inclined, couldn't he? As he's pulling clear. Remember, no handicap on that car. And look, the sister Fimes car, the 27, now putting pressure on Longoni here. So Giacomo Pedrini, that 27 car that initially had its first podium finish at race 2 in Misano, but then picked up a post-race time penalty for contact with Jurian de Back. And so they ended up falling right down the order as a result of that, but could help the sister car out massively by putting its championship rival under pressure. And Longoni is very much under pressure at the moment, the former Clio Cup racer. They make their way out of the first chicane back towards the hotel chicane at turns 3, 4 and 5. Still the red-nosed ZRS Motorsports car that holds the position, but for how much longer? Because wide in turn 4 there. So he's compromised his entry into 5. That will compromise him into 6, and then out of 7, and then on to the Mistral as well.
Yeah, of course, updating on the timing screen, Deleguanti confirmed ahead of Garcia now. So now 1 spot away from a podium spot. Of course, all provisional. We do have
quick.
we do have a pit stop actually coming out. He must have made a mistake, I could only imagine. As we now watch as Rodriguez have a little look here on Stifter once more. Was he keen to get his place back that he lost out to Diego not too long ago? Again, a little bit deep there from Deleguanti on that occasion. Boy, Garcia may have sensed an opportunity to come back. Longoni, though, a second behind Garcia with Pedrini for strong company. Of course, we were watching that battle not too long ago as we now ride on board here with the number 16 of Evgeny Leonov. It's part of the Volcano Motorsport team that are now looking to try and close up on the back of Giacomo Chabergia, who in turn has got Jose Barros for company on the run down through towards Scene now as they look to go flat out through this section. Little twitch there, it would seem, there from Barros. Out in front, I saw the shaky tail on that Porsche as Paul Meyer continues to electrify. Purple again in the first 2 sectors on this lap, and his last lap, if you want a breakdown of how far away everyone else is, I mean, you're talking 1.5 seconds a lap faster is Paul Meyer at the moment. He did a 34.5 in the first sector on this lap, which was purple, and a 38.5. He gained 3/10 on Diego Stifter in the middle sector alone, and another 6/10 inside the first sector. This is remarkable driving from Paul Meyer again.
So that battle for 6th position, making its way out of Virage Dupont. Still Pedrini trying to put the pressure on his countryman. Meyer does the fastest lap of the race, back into the first corner. Still Ian Rodriguez there in that white, red and blue Ebby Motors car. looking at the back of Diego Stifter. So even though Stifter made that move on Rodriguez, he's not exactly pulling away from him, but the bi-race team looking very comfortable here. That is another car that does not have any handicap to serve. And where have they been? They've only had one podium finish so far this season, has Diego Stifter and Ludovico Larini. It is, he shares the car with. That was all the way back at the first meeting of the season in Portimao as well. So it's been a while coming for them, but maybe things are starting to go their way. Remember, it was the wheel that came off in Misano while they were running quite strong. That's right. Debris on the Mistral that some of the cars are running over there. I wonder where that's come from.
Goodness knows. Not quite sure what's happened there, to be honest with you. The 22 of Ludovico Longoni under consistent pressure here from Giacomo Pedrini. As we now watch as Stifter looks to fly through Scene Corner now. It's quite a ways behind Paul Meyer. Paul Meyer has gone purple again in the first two sectors on this lap once more, so he's continuing to batter the lap times here at Paul Ricard again. Just a little wide moment perhaps there further back for Ludovico Longoni. Pedrini needing no invitation. Look up the inside here at the Bousset, and he's got the better line as well, but can he carry the speed? He was a little bit slow, escaping a little wide there from Longoni. So Giacomo Pedrini takes P6.
Mate, you might argue that he was pushed off the road there, because Pedrini himself was wide at the apex, the second apex at the Bousset. And then the ZRS car had to go off the road, didn't he, to avoid that. Then he got Zayn in behind. Leandro Martins, the AM leader, still closing in on them as well while they're squabbling. So, end of lap number 4 for these guys. So Pedrini in 6th position for now, and demoting Longoni into 7th position. And it's worth remembering as well, that 22 car is taking 20 seconds of handicap after double victory in Misano. It's 20 seconds for themselves and the GT Course car, the Pro-Am Championship leaders. 15 seconds for the bright yellow LMR car that we can see in the picture.
Oh, and straight off the track there goes the 22 of Ludovico Longoni, who just lost out to Pedrini not too long. I think he just must have missed his braking zone. I think at that point, hence why he went off to the left. I was a little bit concerned because I saw a little bit of smoke, and I thought, well, have his brakes failed or something? I mean, you never know. But nevertheless, Longoni is going to topple, no question, down the order after that. He's just gone through the timing split. He's come out ahead of Pedrini, but we know that Pedrini is still very much in the lead, and indeed Pedrini holding on to his position in P6.
Yeah, so it's just let him back through there, but that was either a very severe misjudgment or a little mistake there from Longoni to go off into the runoff area with that kind of speed. Hopefully we get a replay of that and we can see again what happened. But yeah, I'll just quickly run through the others. Also 15 seconds for Evgeny Leonov for the number 6 Hans Weiss Motorsports car, 10 seconds for the number 5 Hans Weiss Motorsport car, the number 1 Fimes car, and then 5 seconds for Jose Barros after his second place finish in Misano.
Business as usual for Paul Meyer. He's gone purple again inside the middle sector, and still continuing to kick the time out between himself and Diego Stifter. It's now 7.7 to nearly 7.8 at the moment. So it's continuing to hammer on in, and Paul Meyer really making good use of this first stint that he does have for himself. Matteo Lovisi waiting for his turn to jump into the Fimes team car when Deli Guanti brings it in. There's his teammate now, chasing after Ian Rodriguez, who is now going to come under some distinct pressure, because whilst he's only been dealing with Diego Stifter ultimately for a larger portion of this race, it's looking like Deli Guanti is going to enter the fray. And how about this for a complexion? You've got Ian Rodriguez, champion, and the very car he used to take the title is now starting to move its way closer and closer to the back of him. What a sight to see.
He'll start realizing, oh, this is what that felt like then.
Yeah.
So through the bollard there has taken another whack as well.
Well, I mentioned that outer-body experience. This is the outer-body experience now.
It's very true. It's very true. There's only a couple of seconds separating those 3 cars at the moment between Stifter, Rodriguez and Deli Guanti. Deli Guanti, a race winner in Italian GT, a class winner in GT World Challenge, a rookie champion in Carrera Cup Italia as well. So knows various different machines, and again, he does like that slightly wider line. Does not use anywhere near as much of the curbing in that chicane. We've got an incident at turn 2 involving Jose Barros and Evgeny Leonov overtaking off track. I would assume that was Barros on Leonov because it is the Portuguese driver ahead at the moment in 12th position, and actually a car between himself and Leonov now. So potential news coming later from the stewards on that one.
Yeah, and that's if he is asked to obviously give the position back, Jose Barros, then it does compromise his race even more because now he's got to technically give the place to Giacomo Giobergia.
I think it'd be a time penalty at that point, wouldn't it?
Yeah, most likely. And the gap, if you look at it on paper, I mean, Leonov is now 3.3 to nearly 3.4 behind Giobergia. Yeah. And by the time you've factored that in, you're almost talking 4 seconds between Barros and Leonov.
Barros struggling down in 12th position at the moment, as he has made progress from his grid position, but yeah, the young silver class driver, his first visit to Paul Ricard, as it is for every circuit on the calendar, with the exception of Portimao. So the young law student learning at a very rapid rate. Deli Guanti getting a little bit sideways under braking for the first chicane there in that green #1 Fimes car. So that has allowed Rodriguez to just take a little bit of a breather for a couple of corners because he knows that the chasing Italian is not going to be in a position just yet to strike on him. He keeps sliding the car around like that. And especially on a day like today where it's so hot, I can't imagine what the Michelin tyres are going through. These it's a softer compound compared to what we use in the GT3 cars, for example.
I mean, when you
GT Open,
when you look at the track, I mean, especially in the final sector, the amount of load you put on coming through the likes of Scene Corner, and then obviously by extension the coming through. Oh, we got a side by side now, and more bodywork coming off the back of the. I wonder if it's the 75.
I think he ran over that piece there rather than it coming off the car, but that was no argument at all.
No,
from Ian Rodriguez. I think he's had a phone call, hasn't he?
Probably
there from the Ebi Motors team, Enrico Borghi, probably making the call there. Please allow the full season championship contending car through. We also saw a wide moment there for Ludovico Longoni in the back of the shot before that move from Deli Guanti, just coming onto the Mistral. So ZRS car struggling a little bit for some reason.
Yeah. It's not been easy for them. Paul Meyer continues to be untouchable, though. 10.2 up at the front end of the order is now Leonov, who has got company in Davide Scanicchio as they come through the final sector. So it's going to be quite the battle between those two right now as we rejoin Deli Guanti in 3rd place, who is now in turn looking to try and close back to Diego Stifter. We'll have to get an indicator as to how the times sit between these two drivers. Stifter's really impressed me in this race so far. Obviously, it's been a voyage of discovery for himself this season, but clearly rising to the occasion. He did manage a P3 back at Portimao in race 2, so he's more than capable of achieving the big results, but ultimately, you'd no question be chasing a potential first race win, but a P2 would be ideal and would in turn become his best result of the season so far, as they now head down through towards the hotel section with Deli Guanti in full pursuit. Over the last lap, it was a personal best from Diego Stifter, incidentally, and faster than Pietro Deli Guanti by nearly 0.2 of a second. But Deli Guanti going to work. Now that he's freed himself of Rodriguez in behind, he can now focus on what's in front, and that is battering that clean air to then eventually get in that slipstream off the back of Diego Stifter.
So Stifter leading them down the Mistral, 11 seconds behind the race leader. Into the chicane we go once again, and Rodriguez will be acting as a nice little buffer there for Deli Guanti for any attack from behind, but that's not coming at the moment from Borja Garcia or from Giacomo Pedrini. So let's see, that was the wide moment there for Longoni at the back of the shot, but this was, being let through there, Deli Guanti, and because Rodriguez was a bit further over to the right, picked up some of the debris that had already been pushed past, and that was very much a planned move there between the Ebi Motors teammates. Yeah,
obviously doing the favours for the full season entry. Deli Guanti, of course, chasing the title alongside Matteo Lovisi, and they've been in strong form right through the course of the season now, as we watch as Schweppes, or Martins I should say, ahead of Van Zveerden at the moment over that battle between Ps9 and Ps10, and indeed your two AM championship contenders.
And leaders on the road in that category as well. But inverse to their championship position, it's the Hans Weiss Motorsport car, the white and black machine that is leading the championship there, ahead of the reigning double champions in that bright yellow luminous Porsche, and Bernardo Pinheiro, the chasing LMR car as well. That's their Pro-Am entry, and would be doing his team boss, Leandro Martins, quite a favour if he were to dispatch of young Rick in front of him as well. Rick, just a 18-year-old Dutchman coming from sim racing, his first year of car racing in the real world. That was Leandro Martins, quite an experienced amateur driver, having won 2 titles here in GT Cup Europe now. And the LMR squads trying to turn around their form a little bit. The engine that went pop in Portimao, I think it was, went back to Manthey, had the fix. They did find an issue on it. It's that original engine that's back in the car now, but they did still have some issues in Spa-Francorchamps, and then we saw oil leaking out the back of it in Misano as well. So it's been fraught with difficulties for a number of reasons, but so far this weekend it's all been running very smoothly. You can see there's more debris up here at Scene Corner. Someone's been shedding bodywork like crazy in this race. Yeah, phenomenal, really. I mean, it's a credit to LMR that they've managed to put themselves in a position owing to those problems that they had as well, Chris. I mean, we factor back. We go back. It was race 1 at Portimao where the blow-up happened. You couldn't have a worse start to a season, really. But then they worked through the night, and I believe I think they drove. Was it from Portugal where they got the engine from? I believe afterwards. I couldn't quite. Well, no, it went to Portugal, obviously, but they drove from. I can't remember where they drove from now, but it was done overnight. I think they went up to Lisbon, didn't they, to get that new engine?
That's it. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
but overall, they managed to come back with a second place finish, owing to that effort after getting the engine fixed. So it was a worthy. It was a worthy piece of work done. Therefore, they are now very much in the championship hunt, which we would firmly expect for drivers of the calibre of Leandro Martins and Dieter Schweppes in AM class.
So a bit of contact. I just saw a glimpse of it at the top of the screen. I think between Pinheiro and Rick van Zwijnderen. They're battling over 10th position overall at the moment.
Van Zwijnden's drop-in as well.
Yeah. So he's lost a couple of places as a result of that, I fear.
Stray bollard as well in the centre of the track. Obviously, we mentioned it's been taking a hammering already in this race. Diego Stifter getting a little bit sideways on the run coming out of Hotel and then through towards the Mistral very shortly. And now licking his lips will be Pietro Deli Guanti, hoping that he can utilise the slip in order to potentially open up the door here on the bi-race car as they fly down through towards the Mistral chicane. And it's all going to be about the exit. It's been a tighter run through the Mistral chicane for Deli Guanti as of late. Of course, he hasn't gone as wide as he was earlier on, but now looking for a decent run. It looks like Skinic. This is what happened to Van Zwijnderen.
Ooh, big dive there from Pinheiro, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think surely there must have been some contact or something. No, dropping it on the curb, very nearly taking Pinheiro with him. So I wouldn't say he was directly involved in that because the slip essentially happened after. I couldn't see any contact, Chris.
I think he did clatter into the side of Pinheiro's car a little bit, but not enough to put Pinheiro off too much. And then the car did sort of rear-end the barrier ever so slightly. So Rick van Zwijnderen has lost a few places as a result of that. He's running in 14th position overall now, but is still going. And the pit lane is officially open for business now for the next 8 minutes or so. But you would imagine a lot of these guys at the head of the fields, they will elect to keep their cars out for as long as possible.
It's almost cruel at this point that Paul Meyer has incidentally managed to rope out a 14.4. Now remember, they've got no handicap to serve, so they're going to have a handsome gap between themselves and the rest of the field. at this rate, because of course we're going to be seeing silver class teams such as Matteo Levisi, Pietro Deli Guanti receiving the 10-second handicap that they've got to serve. And I'd imagine Paul Meyer's going to do a grandiose level of this stint here as well, right to the bitter end. The time really is only just started. LMR are coming in though, and they're going to make their change. Leandro Martins will be stepping out. Dieter Schweppes into the car. H. de Mello comes in as well, so he'll be swapping in the 44. Fabio Babini, we welcome him back. I saw him walking around in the paddock yesterday, looking very relaxed and chilled in his shorts. It's very, very hot around here in Le Castellet, and I'm sure the drivers are feeling it in the cockpit right now.
And so also in Jose Barros, the number 19 from GDL as well. So Fernando Navarrete taking over that car. Rick van Zijverden getting ready to hand over to Hans Weiss, Evgeny Leonov and Stefan Paran in the car as well, handing over to Enzo Juli. Meanwhile, that battle for what is now second place, because Deli Guanti's gone through on Diego Stifter, we saw there. So the Fimes car was ahead and now up into second place. And so I wonder if Matteo Levisi is going to be in a position to maybe try and hunt down Jurien de Back in the second part of this race. It'd be a very tall order because the gap is now 15 seconds. And actually, no, we're forgetting that the number one car's got 10 seconds of handicap to take as well. So 25 seconds should, in theory, be the eventual gap or so between those two. So it looks like they're fighting for second place, basically. But they're going to lose places here to these cars behind when they come in for that stop. So Deli Guanti's got to get the hammer down while he's still got time. 5.5 minutes left on the driver change window.
Rodriguez there launching a look up the inside of Diego Stifter, and this is in retaliation after Stifter overtook him over second place not too long ago, of course, towards the start of the race. But they're going to go wheel to wheel again. Obviously, Deli Guanti managing to take that second. So this is over third, as now around the outside comes Rodriguez. Late on the brakes coming into the first apex of the corners. Indeed, they switch back coming out of turn 2. The by-race car of Diego Stifter stiff enough to hold on to that third spot. Rodriguez had every chance. Very nearly did move his way back into the podium fray as they come down in towards the chicane at the hotel. But it is still Stifter in third. For how much longer, though? Because there is a heavy braking zone here that does present opportunities. Defensive-minded there from Stifter. Knew the move was likely coming, and that prevented the move there from Rodriguez. We got a penalty decision as well. 5 seconds going to car 77, Jose Barros, for the overtake off the track. So obviously not giving way. You were absolutely right, Chris. The prophecy was fulfilled. Barros receiving a time penalty as opposed to giving the places back that he had taken wrongfully, as deemed by the stewards.
And Ludovico Longoni back into pit lane and handing over the car to Nicolo Schiro.
Fantastic battle here between these two at the moment. Obviously, the pit stop driver changes is still very much underway. We have got Nelson Marcondes stepping out, and instead he'll have his teammate jumping in, Nelson Montero Jr. So he watches the two go at it over third place still. Diego Stifter somehow, some way preventing Ian Rodriguez an avenue for attack as they come in towards the Bousset. Now, is he going to overextend here, coming in towards this point of the track? I think there was an early little measure of braking there from Rodriguez, obviously favouring, trying to find that inside line on the run out of Bousset. It's a tricky corner to manage. They come through towards Ben D'Or. Switch back now from Rodriguez, who's going to look to hammer it home. He's got the better line, and he's got the position. P3 for Ian Rodriguez.
Returning the serve from the first lap there, wasn't he, the Guatemalan racer? So that is around third position now, but Stifter's going to come into pit lane now and hand over the car to Ludovico Laurini, and following him in as well is Borja Garcia. So he could have done an extra lap there. Indeed, some drivers have stayed out still for another lap, but yeah, it's going to be Laurini who gets into the car, identifies the pit box this time, unlike at Spa. Laurini into pit lane, and this is the Lars Zanen car as well, so handing over to Fagani Salub and Alejandro Barambio taking over from Borja Garcia. Very quick driver, as has been proven. 3 times victors in the Pro-Am category so far this year is that GT Course team. We also see Giacomo Pedrini in as well, handing over to Matteo Martinelli in the 27. No refueling in these stops. It's a 50-minute race, and these cars got endurance tanks on them. No tyre change as well, just the driver change to do. This is your race leader, Paul Meyer. Now 16 seconds to the good over the chasing pack. And look at this, we've got cars trying to sort themselves out after their pit stops. But this just goes to show how much time the ZRS car has lost, because he's in amongst all the AM runners at the moment is Nicolo Schiro, and trying to undo all of that damage.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, we've seen Schiro actually racing Ferraris in the past, now here in Porsche machinery. Dieter Schweppes in the heart of all of this. Currently sat down in 12th overall and AM P2. He's hunting down H. de Mello, who currently sits in the lead of AM class right now. And actually, it was a key move there for Schweppes to actually get past Fabio Babini to at least put himself in the fray for a potential AM lead. And indeed up the inside for Dieter Schweppes. Takes P10 overall. And that's the AM lead in the process as well, Chris.
Lovely stuff there, big dive on the inside. Babini will try and take advantage of that as well, as will Schiro. Cassio de Mello trying to find a good result in the AM category after a pretty disastrous race in Misano where they scored no points, as the race leader is into pit lane. So Paul Meyer handing over to Jurian Debat. Matteo Levisi about to climb aboard the #1 car that was started by Pietro Delicoanti. And Andrea Gali taking over from Ian Rodriguez there in the 75 car as well. So the last car to come in is that blue and green LMR car. Flavio Sampao taking over from Bernardo Pinheiro.
Yeah, so further changes being made. We've got 25 seconds left in this driver change window. Very soon it's going to slam shut. Bernardo Pinheiro now exchanging. And it'll be Flavio Sampao, as you so rightly said, Chris, taking over the reins. At the moment, fastest in the speed trap, Fabio Babini, who of course came in for Davide Scanicchio, as he now moves into 13th owing to the drivers in the pits. Jurian Debat joins the action now in place of Paul Meyer, and a comfortable lead, you'd imagine, as well at the same time. And it looks like it's drama for another Hans Weiss motorsport car. It looks like Fagani Salubra has unfortunately upended himself coming through out of the first sector. Oh, my goodness. Now, was that Babini?
Yeah, I think, was there a little touch there with Schiro's front end there as he went into the hotel chicane, arriving at turn 4 backwards and avoiding action having to be taken by Dieter Schweppes and Cassio de Mello.
Well, there was a comedy of situations there, because honestly, I think there was a little bit of contact between Schweppes and Mello actually coming into the chicane.
And Schiro is still ahead of Schweppes and Mello, but he went over the escape road. They might have a problem with that. Yeah. So this is, the driver change finished, and this is the two Fimes cars. Still the #1 ahead of the 27, which is a bit surprising. But Matteo Levisi has might have just got around Matteo Martinelli while we were looking at that earlier incident. So it is Jurian Debat who leads. And it's Andrea Gali who has come out ahead of Ludovico Larini. So that means that the 75 car jumped the bi-race car. Didn't it? Oh, no, sorry. Ian had just passed him, hadn't he, right before the pit stop sequence. But the bi-race car is a silver class car and now chasing a car that's got its AM driver aboard. So you would imagine that car will still come out in second place. Then Matteo Levisi in 4th position and 4.8 seconds behind Larini. So Fimes are still well within the shout for the podium here.
Yeah, no question. I think they're in a good spot, but obviously Martinelli is going to be the immediate threat at the moment, obviously being 4 tenths behind and all over the back. Looks like Schiro has managed to get past Salubra, who's incidentally in Pro-Am P3. Pro-Am P4, I do apologise, because of course Gali is your Pro-Am leader at the moment, as we now watch as Jurian Debat flies through towards turn 1. Let's take a look at this replay then. This is Salubra once more. He's having a difficult run out there since joining the circuit. A spin earlier on and a misjudgment coming into the Mistral chicane, as we now rejoin the bi-race. Now flashing its lights of Ludovico Larini, who is giving chase after Gali at the moment, the 75 leading the Pro-Am class.
Doing a very nice job out there at the moment as well, not losing too much time to the chasing Laurini. So they make their way into the chicane. It's 18 minutes left on the clock. And Jurien de Back leading the way on course for potential third victory of the season for the Hans Weiss Motorsports crew. But some real damage limitation being done by their nearest championship rivals. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that 22 car, the Nicolo Schiro incident, whether there was contact with the tsunami car of Fabio Babini, and whether they will say anything about the fact that he went over the chicane and came out ahead of Cassio De Mello and Dieter Schweppes, who both went around the incident. So that is something to keep an eye out on for the moment.
I think more drama for Saluba at the moment because he's just fallen to Schweppes. So looks like he's having some more problems out there at the moment. And Babini's going to come into, well, he's going to be in Babini's clutches if this carries on. 2.1 between those two at this stage. So there's now 2 Pro-Am cars in between Schweppes and De Mello at the moment, as now we have a look at the 4 of Ludovico Laurini, still contesting over this P2, which is going to continue at the moment. This is Andrea Galli, who's in second place and first in Pro-Am. Of course, the closest Pro-Am driver, or closest Pro-Am car to them, is Barambio Pereira. He went a bit wide, though, and that's allowed Laurini to go through. He knows it's not his fight there, Chris, and obviously Laurini, pouncing on the opportunity, immediately moves into second.
Yeah, so that's second place now for the Bi-Race crew, and this would be their best finish in GT Cup Europe since that new investment from the Bi Auto Group came in, formerly the Race Vents team that has won in GT Cup, but it's now second place for Ludovico Laurini, still 20 seconds behind, and we've got 5-second time penalty going out to the 19, which is currently Fernando Navarrete, started by Fernando Pedrera. I wonder if he was the driver responsible for that one, because it's 5 seconds for overtaking off the track. Where are they at the moment? Third in the AM category and 5.1 ahead of Hans Weiss. So that's definitely one to keep an eye out on, especially because Hans Weiss is a very rapid bronze driver.
Yeah, and will no doubt be finishing strong as well. But yeah, going back to what you were saying about the Bi-Race car, obviously they have not had a podium since their only podium this season, the third place that they managed to net together. That was, of course, back at Portimao. And this will be their best result of the season as well if they hold on to this P2. And be a miraculous achievement for them as well. Galli now 1.8 seconds behind, and Lovisi is going to be hoping that he can catch up with Galli and make the key overtake to land his return to the podium steps once again. And he, of course, will be in charge of qualifying the car tomorrow when we get going for qualifying 2 to tee up the second race. But at the moment, Jurien de Back in control and lapping fairly well. Of course, ahead of Laurini, they were lapping pretty much at the same pace. Slight differences between them by mere hundredths, but Jurien de Back ever improving. And he gets to learn from the best in Paul Meyer as well.
Yeah, he's in very safe hands there as young Jurien. Very well acquainted with this car now, having raced it in various Porsche One Make competitions of Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge, whatnot. So, Matteo Lovisi now closing in on Andrea Galli. He's 1.8 behind that podium spot. As we see Nicolo Schiro in 8th position. Now remember, that's the third place car in the championship. Looking at the back of Flavio Sampaio, but with close company from Jose Barros and Dieter Schweppes, who are 2 very rapid drivers, but Schiro himself a very rapid driver. Raced in GT World Challenge for a number of years as well with the Kessel squad. Manages to get the run out of Virage Dupont on Flavio Sampaio there, the Brazilian racer, who's going to have the inside line when they get to the first corner. Barros also trying to keep Dieter Schweppes at bay, Schiro around the outside. So that gives him 7th position now overall.
We've got a 14-second time penalty to be added to the race time of car 14. That's Alejandro Barambio. That's Pro-Am P2 right now. just witnessing a move there from Levisi. Looks like he's got past Andrea Galli over that P3. So podium now in the hands of Fime's team. And so they'll savour that one. And there's quite a gap then to Martinelli, who, well, I say quite a gap. He's only 3/10 behind Galli at the moment. So by extension, they're within a second. So there is still a potential fight over P3 at the moment.
So that Barambio penalty, that's the championship leader for the Pro-Am category, in the form of Barambio, and they are the top two in that class. And now Linus Stern in the timing order, because Martinelli's gone through. We're going to see that move now. Silver car making its way past the Pro-Am car. Now, Barambio is also the bronze driver there, but is lapping a bit quicker at the moment, a second quicker last time around, though, of course, Galli was being rounded up by Levisi on that previous lap. So let's see what happens when they're both sort of settled into their rhythm a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, here comes now Dieter Schweppes. A little look up the inside of Barosh as they come through the Bousset. Regardless, Barosh is going to forfeit this through his penalty that he received. Very much sideways now as they come through towards Ben Door, and he's going to have to try and do his best to hold back Dieter Schweppes, who is well on course to be taking his, well, yet another AM victory. This is a very well known team within this championship. Of course, they've been here for quite some time, LMR. There's a wealth of a gap now between themselves and H. de Mello, which I'll be absolutely delighted with, but Schweppes determined to persevere. And bear in mind, this is an AM car against the silver class of Barosh. As they charge down through towards turn one, Babini, of course, locked in behind, ever so experienced with all his work and efforts at Le Mans in the past. 5-second time penalty to be added to car 27. As now we see that being offered out to Matteo Martinelli, so that would almost secure Matteo Levisi here at this stage, and surely that P3 will remain in their hands.
Oh, 100%. There's no way they're letting the sister car go through, are they? Dieter Schweppes looking to the inside there into the hotel chicane. That could open up the door for Fabio Babini. Another time penalty coming in. So what is wrong with everybody's stop clocks today? Because nobody's served the handicap correctly, have they? So car 6 now, which is the Saluba car, 18 seconds of time penalty. So the reason they're different, what they tend to do is they take the time you missed it by and then double it. But that means they were 9 seconds too quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that is the most dramatic amount of time lost already. Now we're seeing, look at this from Dieter Schweppes, crawling all over the back of Jose Barros, trying to cut him off again. Interesting. Babini now has a chance because he has had an unfettered line coming through towards the Mistral chicane, unable to get the move done just yet, but he's going to get the charge. Yeah, the door's open on Barros's car. What on earth is going on here?
He's trying to pull it shut.
Yeah, trying to pull it shut indeed, and now Schweppes clearly sensing that Barros is having a frail moment. Babini flashing his lights as they come through towards the scene section. LMR Motorsport trying to dispose of this 77 out of the way. The door is still open, Chris.
Well, that could be a black and orange flag. I'm not sure race control is going to be too impressed by that. A bizarre thing to see there, and I'm sure very disconcerting as you're trying to make your way around scene corner and whatnot at 150 miles an hour. Extraordinary stuff. And Barros, I was going to say, he was being very aggressive with his defense and very, very borderline about what he was going to get away with there. But I don't know if they did maybe just touch, and that's what's propped the door open a little bit. And he's having to come in. Yeah, and there has been a black and orange flag shown for that car. He's got to go in and get that door sorted.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, he was having trouble. He slammed it again coming through the third sector. Was unsuccessful.
Goodness
and there's Sampau's gone. He's around coming through out of the pont corner. Well, whether it was a punt at pont, I'm not quite sure. But either way, a spin coming through towards the final bend on that lap. Incredible scenes.
Arrived on the scene there like a UPS delivery driver lobbing your parcel over the fence, didn't he? That was extraordinary. So the AF Motorsport crew, they have addressed the door and seems to be good now, but Barros will come out much towards the rear of the field. Babini makes a look to the inside now, so this will now be for 8th position overall to class interclass battle here, but it's Babini who ends up going through very nicely indeed. So just trying to take stock now. Just so much happened in about 30 seconds there, didn't it? The Saluba spin, the door, the overtake, and some other stuff, I'm sure, somewhere in the middle. And hello, Flavio.
Yeah. Stretch into the painted area, and unfortunately just getting it wrong by the looks of it, coming through the final corner.
I think that was contact with Fagani Salou potentially there. That was the Hans Weiss car just behind him.
It's possible. Hans Weiss only 3.8 behind Sampao at the moment. Obviously, that is interclass as well because, of course, Sampao Pro-Am. And we'll have a series of AM cars all around him. But Hans Weiss, very fast indeed, even in for AM class level. As we now watch as the 6th of Fagani Salubra. And I got to say, that car has seen better days, Chris. Look at it. I think it's nursing somewhat of a black eye on the left-hand side, actually.
Yes.
As we know.
I think that might be some evidence towards the Sampao spin, mightn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, needs an eye patch on that front left there, doesn't it? So, extraordinary stuff. Where are they running at the moment? That 6 car. It's in 10th position overall, 4th in its class. So it's been a very difficult day on that side of the garage. And yeah, that incident is in fact under investigation now as well. So a bit more work for the stewards to do. But we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 penalties come through for these handicaps not being served correctly, which is rather extraordinary.
Yeah, Cassio de Mello has just overtaken Salubra as well. So that's now P10 overall for H. de Mello, who is very busy trying to close that 7.6 second gap to Dieter Schweppes, but I can't see that happening at the moment. See, Schweppes a very fast driver. And what'll be interesting is obviously Fernando Navarrete is MP3 right now. Hans Weiss will be hoping to jump onto the podium. Remember, Navarrete does have a penalty.
And it's 11 seconds at the moment between Babini and Barambio in 2nd and 3rd in the Pro-Am category. So they're going to lose 2nd place with that penalty for the GT course car, the number 14. You would expect Babini to close in on that car anyway, but if it were to finish like this with 6 minutes to go, they would lose that spot anyway because they've got 14 seconds of time penalty to serve at the end of the race. I think that's the only penalty that's going to affect one of our 3 podiums at the end of the race.
Very likely. It's the bi-race car now making its way down through towards turn 1. It's, behind the wheel, Ludovico Laurini.
And he's lapping quicker than Jurien de Back at the moment. The gap was 20 seconds. It's now just under 16 seconds. He's not going to bring the gap down fully, but this is encouraging for Ludovico Laurini.
It certainly is. It shows that the pace is very much there. And I've got to say, I was really impressed with Diego Stifter's stint at the very start of the race as well. Really did a solid job and has really given them a platform to go on and take their best result of the season. Car manager, team manager for car 6, that of course is Fagani Salubra, has been asked to report to race control immediately. Of course, Salubra has been on the wrong end of quite a few moments so far during his stint through the course of this race. And it looks like there's going to be a stern talking to for the team manager of said car. So we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. But regardless, at the moment, Jurien de Back, there is Diego Stifter, fresh off the back of that illustrious stint that has placed his team in the heart of a podium performance, with Laurini looking to bring it home with the checkered flag waiting in the midst in the next 4.5 to 5 minutes. Jurien de Back with the fastest lap of the race that was brought to the table by Paul Meyer, continuing the great work that the Dutchman did in the first stint, and now Jurien de Back on a quest of landing their team the 3rd win of the season. And they'll record and break away the trend of there being 3 different winners, all on 2 at the moment. We will see our first pairing achieving 3 wins this campaign.
Extending their championship lead, of course, with this result. And quite handsomely too, especially with the 22 down in 7th position at the moment. Looking at the back of the 2 Pro-Am leaders, there's still a chance here that Skiro will come away with a top 5 finish, but there's potential drama for that car in the stewards' room later on. They've been asked to come to race control. There's an incident that's been noted involving them. Not quite sure which one it was, but we'll keep an eye out on the bulletin board post-race for any potential penalties for that car.
There is Salubret. He's now got Fernando Navarrete for company and almost being pushed around the Bousset section. Navarrete forced to go out wide, I think, looking for the switchback on the run out. Obviously looking for some extra momentum as they take Ben Dor. He's got the line to the inside, coming through Ben Dor's section and in towards Garlaban, and it will be Navarrete ahead of Fagani Salubret. Of course, he's hunting down after H. de Mello at the minute, but remember, Navarrete does have a penalty, and in actual fact, it does look like the podium is going to make its way to Hans Weiss, I think, at the moment, for that AM P3 position.
So there's your race leader. Gap's continuing to come down, because 1.5 seconds quicker last time around was Ludovico Laurini. The gap now under 14 seconds. So you think it's a good job that Paul Meyer did the job he did in the first stint, because they really could have come under pressure if the gap wasn't so well established in the first stint. There is Lavisi, and continuing the podium run will be a 5th podium for that car this season. Continues to close down Laurini, but it's not going to be enough in these final 2 minutes of the race. I think just a couple of more, well, actually one more lap to go. Oh, more dramas for the 6 car, causing a collision. 10-second time penalty for that one. So that is 28 seconds worth of penalties that car has now collected.
It's a black eye and a penalty issued as well.
A jab to the throat.
Absolutely,
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for good measure.
Roundhouse kick.
Yeah. It's been a tough visit for Paul Fagani Salubret, and I'm sure one he'll be looking to forget, I think, when the checkered flag comes out. But Matteo Lavisi exits out of the final corner, obviously on quest, as you so rightly mentioned, Chris, for yet another podium. And obviously this is a car that needs to be perfect for the remainder of the season, already housing 2 nil points finishes, with one of them leading to a non-classification at Portimao in race 2. They finished 10th back, 15th even, back at Misano in race 2. That was recorded at the final results. So, yeah, this will be, I'm sure, a relief for them in a way to get back into podium contention, though I'm sure they'll have their eyes firmly set on race 2 tomorrow, where they'll have a great opportunity. And they should be handicapless going into tomorrow's race, because they would have used the 10 seconds here this afternoon. So if they do finish
because you finished 3rd, you don't gain any handicap.
Or don't lose any.
You don't lose any.
So it would still be the 10.
So I think he will still have 10 tomorrow, yeah.
So that's going to be something for them to manage.
But then this car will have 10 as well, so it'll be a bit more of an even playing field between them, for sure.
Yeah. And Lavisi will be, of course, qualifying the car, which is a grand opportunity for them, certainly based on his qualifying record in this championship.
Yeah, very much so. Looking forward to seeing that tomorrow, see if we can go for 4 for 4. But Jurien de Back is driving very nicely at the moment. Yes, the gap's been coming down, but he's just been doing what he needs to do to bring home this win. Yeah,
it's been a sterling drive, all started, of course, with Paul Meyer sticking it on pole position this morning. Need we expect anything less? They have been absolute performance. And it looks like as well the number 22 of Nicolo Schiro has been offered a 5-second time penalty. Once again at the same time. By race, absolutely thrilled as well. Diego Stifter celebrating with the rest of his team. Ludovico Laurini bringing it home in second. That's this team's best result this season and their 2nd podium as well. Fantastic stuff. Giuseppe celebrating in a way only he knows how. Matteo Lavisi across the line is how. Matteo Lavisi across the line in 3rd. He'll be qualifying the car tomorrow in a bid to try and land their 3rd win of the season. Whether they can do that, though, remains to be seen. Plenty of action to bring you throughout the course of the weekend. In terms of the Pro-Am, it is going to be Andrea Galli who takes 5th place overall and the Pro-Am victory. Dieter Schweppes LMR back on the top step in AM class. But today, it's all about Jurien de Back and Paul Meyer. Dominance here at Le Castellet, Chris.
Yeah, pretty unstoppable, aren't they, when they're in their championship lead. That penalty for the ZRS car didn't affect the result because the car behind it was the very heavily penalised number 6 Hans Weiss Motorsport car. So Skiro holds on to 6th position in the end. Bit of damage limitation there for the 22 crew, but big damage limitation done by Levisi and Delicoanti. They couldn't really do much more than 3rd today.
No, they couldn't. Let's run through the classification for the opening race of the weekend in the GT Cup Europe Championship. It is Paul Meyer and Yuri Anderbach. Your winners here for Hans Weiss Motorsport, Diego Stifter, Ludovico Laurini. They take 2nd place for by race, their best result of the season. Matteo Levisi, Pietro Delicoanti finish in 3rd. Back on the podium once again with Martinelli Pedrini finishing in 4th. Prime winners, Calian Rodriguez in 5th. So Rodriguez on top of the podium once again in the GT Cup is the reigning champion. Schiro and Longoni in 6th. Ganiccio and Babini finishing in PAM 2nd. Martins and Schweppes back and winners once more. Barambio, Pera and Garcia in 9th place, and De Mello and Giobergia finishing in AM P2. Zavierden and Hans Weiss, of course, still questing for the title in AM. They finish AM 3rd and 11th, with Navarrete Pedrera in 12th, Evgeny Leonov in 13th, ahead of Pinheiro and Pau in 14th, Montero Marcondes down in 15th, Perrin as well further back. We did, of course, have a couple of incidents for a few and plenty of penalties distributed. This is how the championship now looks. 9 points separate the top 2 in the championship. Yuri Anderbach and Paul Meyer continuing their great run. 73 against their name, ahead of the 64 landed by Delicoanti and Levisi, with 55 points in the palm of Ludovico Longoni's hands. 18 points, though, off the top. You do think now it's becoming a 2-horse race at this stage, and as firmly expected, it is Hans Weiss of Yuri Anderbach and Paul Meyer versus Vimes team looking to defend their crown with Matteo Levisi and Pietro Delicoanti.
I wouldn't say 2-horse just yet, George. We would have said that after Portimao, and then they proved us wrong. So I don't know. I'm not going to let them off just yet.
Only difference is with Portimao we still have 5 rounds left afterwards. We're now at a point where we have got 5 races left after this, 2 rounds after this. So the opportunities
are... a fair way still to go. Great stuff from Paul Meyer and Yuri Anderbach. Victory number 3 this season. And once again, we find ourselves in need of the Dutch translator to
getting used to this,
the celebrations. But yeah, it's a winning feeling keeps coming back, doesn't it, for these two? Paul got very used to that last year in the Pro-Am category. He's getting very used to having it overall now.
Well, 3 wins in total now for the season. That is 3 wins in 7 races. They went winless for 3 races, from Spa Race 2 to Misano Race 2. So it's going to be a very satisfying feeling for the Hans Weiss pairing of Meyer and De Back, and firmly in a strong place now for the championship fight, but do not write this team off. Vimes team who know what it's like to win here in the GT Cup Europe Championship. Matteo Levisi, you get the feeling this is a journey that he's been on, determined to win this championship, and has the support of his family in his corner. His father, of course, very passionate around Levisi's career, and alongside Pietro Delicoanti, both of them, of course, young drivers looking to move through the realms. Delicoanti, I had the privilege of commentating on in single-seater racing a few years ago, and it's great to see him actively pursuing GT competition. I'm really impressed with by race, to be honest. Well done, Ludovico Laurini. And Diego Stifter's first stint was, quite frankly, brilliant as well on his part. Their best result, P2 this season.
Yeah, great stuff from that new team for this season. And look at it, compared to the team that won Pro-Am Championship last year, has proven itself to be a very dominant force. The team that won the championship last year as well. So yeah, mighty, mighty effort.
Yeah, absolutely right. Top 3 to take you through. Levisi and Delicoanti in 3rd place. Magnificent effort on their parts. Managing to come away with a podium. Their fun will continue tomorrow. Ludovico Laurini in 2nd place. Managing to launch themselves onto the podium, their best finish of the season. But no one can hold a candle to Paul Meyer and Yuri Anderbach. They win here at Paul RICARD, and they are standing by for an interview with Alfredo.
Yes, hello. So again with Paul and Urian, another win. I lost the count, but it must be 6 or 7 or something like that. But it was hot.
Yeah, it was inside the car for sure, like a sauna feeling. 6 degrees plus, I think, in the car. But overall, perfect day for us. Started this morning with pole position, fastest lap in the race, and a race win to start the weekend on Saturday is incredibly good for us. Also for the points in the championship. So we are delighted to be here and to win the first race.
Second stint, maybe a little bit more difficult. We saw a lot of cars having trouble with the tires.
Yeah, the end was a bit tricky, but Paul did a mega job in the first stint. Made a good gap, and for me it was just bring it home, keep the tires in good condition. So it was fun. It was a great race.
Oh, a good day, some few beers later.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's take a look at the highlights from race 1 in the GT Cup Europe here in Paul Ricard. A very, very hard fight at the very front as Paul Meyer took the lead of the race from pole position. Was under fire, though, from other cars chasing for better posies as well. Obviously, Matteo Lovisi's teammate Pietro Deli Guanti was tasked with trying to lift Vime's team further up the order. By race, were firmly in contention with Diego Stifter, launching himself into second place as they made their way through the course of the race. The 14 of Alejandro Barambio and, of course, his teammates Boyar Garcia were also trying to ferry their way forwards as well. They would later come unstuck as well, with also later on Andrea Galli's mount actually losing out as well. Eventually, Ebby Motors would also fire their way through owing to a mistake later on in the race. And then the driver change period came into play. Paul Meyer jumping out of the car after a successful stint that saw them nearly go 20 seconds up the road. Urian de Back taking over control of the car. Ludovico Laurini was on the move as well for By-Race, looking to chase down their best result of the season. And Lovisi, who had taken over from Pietro Deli Guanti, also trying to move up the order, eventually grabbing onto third. But none of them could catch the top team here in the classification. Urian de Back taking a third win of the season alongside Paul Meyer, and they now continue their lead at the top of the championship. So there we have it. The attention now turns to the podium celebrations. And, of course, the overall class will be first. And there you can see your 2 overall winners. Paul Meyer, Urian de Back, winners at Portimao Race 2, Spa Race 1, now Paul Ricard Race 1. Well, just hearing a few words. Obviously, my Dutch isn't that great, but
just apologise just in case, especially knowing those two.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a huge result, and surely they're going to be happy because this ends 3 races of hurt, really, for Urian de Back and Paul Meyer. Doesn't like to step away from the top step of the podium, does Paul Meyer. Very passionate about his racing. By-Race will stand on the second step for the first time with Lovisi Deli Guanti after a spirited performance up into third. The crowd cheer for our winners. The Dutch pairing of Urian de Back and Paul Meyer. Connections with smiles on their faces. Hans Weiss Motorsport back on top, and they are truly in a great position in all classes. And we'll have the Dutch national anthem. The cheers rain out and ring out for Hans Weiss and Urian de Back and Paul Meyer. dominant today at Paul Ricard. Firmly at the top of the championship for now, but still many questions to be answered. We have still got plenty of races to come, 5 in total. And attention turns to tomorrow now, Chris. I mean, as we now watch the trophy presentation, championship CEO Jesus Pereira presenting the third place trophies to Fime's team with Lavisi and Delicuanti accepting them. And of course, be hoping they can get the bigger ones tomorrow. And fanciful little cups is now the Michelin representative presents the second place trophies to Ludovico Laurini, as well as his teammate Diego Stifter. And last but certainly not least, Jesus Pereira, GT Sport Organization CEO, presents the winning trophies to your championship leaders. Their reign continues. Paul Meyer and Yuri Enderbach. And I must say, Chris, mouth-watering prospect for tomorrow's race.
Yeah, very much looking forward to seeing 2 championship rivals on equal footing in terms of their handicap. And the battle continues between them. See if Zadares can maybe undo some of the damage done today as well. But yeah, great result for HWM, great result for Fimes. There, a lot of damage limitation done there after the 5-place grid penalty that you know, kind of undid how much they could do in the first part of the race. But the champagne being sprayed and the celebrations begin, and the annual rooftop party starting a little bit early here at Circuit Paul Ricard. No doubt they'll all be enjoying the festivities tonight, which get underway during the GT Open race, in fact.
Yes, so lots for the GT Open crowds. Lara there, placing the GT Cup badge.
And let me tell you, a thumbs up from Lara is hard to come by.
It is.
Dieter should feel very honoured there.
She's definitely a stern critic, is Lara. So you don't want to step a foot wrong, put it that way.
Responsible for a lot of the organisation of GT Cup Europe specifically as part of GT Sport organisation. So yeah, a lot of effort behind the scenes. We go to the Pro-Am podium, and championship leaders will still be on the Pro-Am podium, but it will be top step for the Ebby Motors crew, the guest entered car, Andrea Gali, and the reigning champion, Ian Rodriguez.
Yeah, Ian Rodriguez back in familiar territory. And, I'm actually impressed he hopped on to that third step there.
Yeah, no, that's... we haven't heard of any injury for the drivers at GT Corsa. I'll have to go down to the awning and find out about that, because, yeah, that doesn't look particularly good, and I think adds a lot of context to their race, doesn't it, suddenly?
Quite possibly. I mean, I think if you're a driver, you're relieved that's not the brake pedal foot. I think, to be honest with you. At least it's the accelerator, which is a little easier to control. Great to see Fabio Babini and Davide Scanicchio back on the podium as well. Fabio Babini, obviously a treasure to this paddock, and lovely to have him here as well. And I must say, a grand tutor for Davide Scanicchio as well. Andrea Gali will stand alongside Ian Rodriguez. The Guadalajara flag comes out straight away. And of course, we saw a lot of that last year when he went hunting for the overall championship, ultimately becoming champion. Michelin representative now giving GT Course their P3 trophies, and cheer loudly with the Spanish flag in hand as well. Next up, a man who has won plenty of trophies, Fabio Babini, Davide Scanicchio, receiving the second place trophy here at Paul Ricard, and raise them high, much to the delight of their team, you can imagine. Last but certainly not least, Rodriguez, as well as his teammate Andrea Gali, winners here in Pro-Am class, Chris.
Yeah, great stuff. Great return to the championship for Rodriguez. Still on the top step of a podium. And a welcome visit from Andrea Gali as well. Curious to see how they go tomorrow. But the championship leaders still on the podium, hobbling away, though. I do hope that they're okay, and they'll be okay to race tomorrow. So, but overall, that's still a great result for GT Course. They extend the championship lead there.
We were trying to go to the pit. They said, no. I thought you go to the pit. No. Sorry about that. It was quite far. But then I don't stop as well. But it broke my radiator, so I wasn't braking, and I didn't notice that. I only noticed when I got into the pits.
So I think something happened on the pit lane entry there, potentially between those two cars. I'll have to watch the tape back later.
Seems to have all been taken in good character, though.
Yeah, quite.
But as Pro-Am hops off, we have Am class next, and third step for Hans Weiss once again, because they are in full pursuit of all 3 championships at the moment. They have got some very strong candidates. Could you imagine if they blanket this season? It is distinctly possible. We'll have to wait and see whether that is the case, though. We do still have plenty of racing left. GDL Racing back again on the second step. A good effort for them as well to achieve that, with, of course, H. de Mello part of that group in the 44 with Giacomo Gierbergia, who I'm sure will be absolutely thrilled with that. And then it's LMR back on top. We're so used to seeing these two, Dieter Schweppes and Leandro Martins. The trophy's being presented to Hans Weiss once again. The number 5 car celebrating yet more success on the podium with Rick van Zivierden, who will receive the third place trophy. GDL Racing of Giacomo Gierbergia and H. de Mello. Second place trophy going their way. And last but certainly not least, LMR back on top once again. Their bold bid for a championship title is on its way. But in the meantime, folks, we'll see you tomorrow for more GT Cup Europe. But from all of us here right now, it's goodbye.